Let me say something uncomfortable. You don't have low confidence, you have an approval addiction. And the scariest part, the people you're trying to impress are controlling your life. Pause for 2 seconds. Every decision you hesitate on, every opinion you soften, every dream you delay, it's not fear of failure, it's fear of disapproval. And that fear is running your identity. Most people think they want success. They don't. They want to be liked while succeeding. And those are not the same goal. If you build your identity around being approved of, you will unconsciously trade your freedom for safety, and you won't even notice. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you made a decision that disappointed someone? Exactly. That hesitation, that tension, that's not weakness, that's psychological conditioning. Alfred Adler argued that human beings are not driven by their past. They are driven by their goals. And many people have adopted this invisible life goal. I must be approved of to be safe. Think about that. If approval equals safety, then rejection equals danger. And your nervous system will treat it that way. Neuroscience shows social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So your brain does what it's designed to do. It protects you by keeping you small. You don't start the business. You don't speak honestly. You don't set boundaries. You don't take creative risks. Not because you're incapable, but because disapproval feels like threat. Let me interrupt you here. Be honest. How many of your current goals would disappear if nobody was watching? That question changes everything. Because if your motivation collapses without an audience, you were never chasing growth. You were chasing validation. And validation is unstable. The moment approval becomes your oxygen, life becomes a competition. Now you're comparing constantly. You scroll social media and feel behind. A friend succeeds and something tightens in your chest. You struggle to celebrate others fully. It's not jealousy. It's what happens when your worth is externally measured. If your value depends on how others rate you, someone else's success lowers your score. That's exhausting. Let me say this clearly. If your self-worth is up for public vote, you will live in permanent anxiety because public opinion shifts daily. Now here's the psychological shift. Happiness doesn't come from recognition. It comes from contribution. When your question changes from do they approve of me to how can I contribute, your anxiety drops because contribution is internal. Approval is external. Approval asks, am I enough? Contribution asks, how can I serve? Which one feels more stable? Pause and think about that. This doesn't mean your past doesn't matter. It does. And attachment shapes how safe you feel. Experiences shape your nervous system. But here's the empowering truth. Your nervous system can be retrained through exposure to discomfort, through boundary setting, through acting in alignment with your values. Even when it feels risky, courage is not loud. It's repeated micro-disapproval. Start small. Say no when you usually say yes. Share an honest opinion. Post something meaningful without checking reactions every 10 minutes. Discomfort is not danger. It's growth. Here's a strong statement. If everyone likes you, you're editing yourself too much. Read that again. Freedom requires psychological risk. Some people will not like you. Not because you failed, but because you stopped performing. And when you stop performing, you start participating. There's a difference. One is exhausting, the other is authentic. Now let me ask you directly, if no one could judge you, what would you pursue? That answer is your real life, not the curated one, not the socially approved one, the real one. And here's the final shift. Your behavior can fail, your identity does not. Separate performance from worth, because shame paralyzes, self-compassion mobilizes. When your worth is not up for public vote, your effort becomes cleaner, your relationships become healthier, your ambition becomes authentic, and the people who try to control you lose their leverage. Because approval is no longer your currency. You don't need everyone to like you. You need alignment with your values. Approval is unstable. Contribution is sustainable. Autonomy is power. And the moment you stop living for their applause, you start living your own life. Now ask yourself, who controls you and what would happen if they didn't anymore?